Hi, I am Kate, and this is my Draw a Life. Yay! Well, let's see. I am 24. I did my birthday earlier this month. I got into anime when I was little. I really liked it because of my older brother. This is not he. Let's see. I have a sister named Jessie who is really artistic. And then I had a brother, Cody. Cody was the anime fan and my favorite brother. And then there was my brother, Justin. Justin liked to pick on me a lot. And then there was me. I was, the baby. And in high school, my parents got separated. Apparently, in South Carolina, you have to be separated at least 1 year. Because of this, I had to move in with my sister. My sister was very pretty. She's still a very pretty woman. And I love my sister. My sister was the creative one. She was in drama. She was, but she had a chemical imbalance just like my dad. And, well, she was beautiful, but she went through guys a lot. She had a little girl named Lydia. And I love my niece very, very much. But in high school, I lived with my sister. I lived in an apartment complex. And then I'd bike to school. And then after a long day of school, I'd go to work at an ice cream shop. Then after a long day of work, I'd bike all the way back home, where the baby would be crying. I'd probably sing to her to go to sleep. And while I was working, I was trying to make, money for college and for my own place. But my sister wanted, a little bit more money to help out. Well, I only wasn't living with my sister and my niece, but also I was living with my brother Justin, who, he tried. This is not my best drawing of my brother. He's much cuter than this. Actually, a lot of girls were my friends in high school just because my brother Justin looked just like Zac Efron. So after doing high school, my senior year, working, taking care of baby, biking everywhere, I was exhausted. I mean, what else was I supposed to do? So I decided to pack my bags and go up to North Carolina in Asheville, where my mom went to college. Apparently, in that college, you could work off your debt right there on campus. And most of my classes were on computer anyway, so I thought, what the heck? I'll try it. So I basically tried to hitch a ride, which worked out. Nice people drove me all the way there. But once I got there, they said you needed a parent's signature, which my parents being separated and my mom was living with my aunt up in DC, I couldn't do. So that was a no-go. Once I was there, I didn't know what to do. So I was homeless for a while. I decided that I would do this. I would try to make things work. So I lived at a woman's missionary. Yay! Now, these people were really nice and everything, but this wasn't home, you know? It wasn't my own place. But it was temporary. At that time, I was also working in construction. I was taking a lot of temporary jobs to make sure I was getting enough. And I was the chute manager. All the trash would be spit out through this tube, and I was at the bottom telling them when they could throw stuff down. And if the chute was broken, I had to put on a harness and shake the tube, which was lots of fun. I do have to say, while I was working temp, I did finish my GED and continued on. Well, as luck would have it, one of my friends from school, Crosby, as I shall call her, she was there for a camp, a Christian camp, and she saw me and was like, "What?" And she took me home. She rode me all the way back to South Carolina, and I decided I wanted to stay in South Carolina no matter what. I know, that's a terrible house. But I was back in South Carolina. Oh boy. Not only was I back in South Carolina, I had to find a place to live. No joke about it. And I needed to find a job. A lot of people let me live with them, and I did have all kinds of different jobs, but I never had enough money to get out on my own. It was really hard. So, I lived in all sorts of places. I lived under bridges, which was very hard. That was the lowest of low when I was living under a bridge. I had a lot of discussions with God, and not all of them were very pretty. But a funny thing happened. The people who were taking care of the bridge decided to flood it. So all my stuff was taken away in the flood. I did get to rescue a few things. I got a few books, a few clothes. At that time, I met someone else, and his name was David. David said a few things that, I thought were cool, and he said, "Why don't you come live with me?" Another guy. Oh boy, this one was tough. I lived with him, his mom, Linda. She had nice fringe. And she didn't mind me being there. She's very sweet, and I still love her till this day. Yeah. And not only was he living with his mom, but also, sorry, my kitty wanted to draw too. Anyway, I lived with David, his mom, and not only that, but his brother, which he was evil. And for some reason, it looks like Beavis and Butthead. Now, David's brother had two little boys. Two very sweet boys. But, their dad would rather do other things than play with his own kids. Yeah. He would rather play video games. Now, I love video games as much as the other person, but what comes first? Video games or kids? I think that answer is pretty obvious. So I would take care of the boys and we'd go on long walks outside. And I'd teach them all about birds and trees and, you know, all kinds of things about nature. They really liked it when I took them outside. And to my surprise, they were very well behaved. Well, for the most part, they are little boys. And I would also teach them how to throw a ball. Sad that their dad didn't even play ball with them. I would yell at their dad saying, "Why? Why aren't you playing with your kids? Why aren't you spending time with them?" And of course, boyfriend at the time said, "Don't bother." And I think he was kind of right. I shouldn't have tried to be the mom there, but those kids needed somebody. Well, other than Miss Linda. And after a while, their whole family decided that I had to go. So, David gave me a tent, and I lived out in the woods. It was pretty scary living out in the woods, I'm not going to lie, because there were hunters in that area. Not only that, but when it rained, it went straight through the tent, and I would get all wet. Thankfully, the church I was going to helped me out. After a week of praying, I got my first place. And it was a house. And I got to rent my own little house. And it was out in beautiful countryside. And I loved it there. I'm not going to say it was perfect. I mean, I had to take cold baths and showers. I didn't have all that much to eat. But right across the road is where I worked. I would just walk right across, and it was a gas station. And I made plenty of friends at the gas station, and I made money, which helped. So I didn't have to lean so much on the church because I felt bad by taking stuff. But while I was there, a friend of the brother of the boyfriend, yeah, one of his friends was named Matthew. Now, Matthew, I have to say, I think he had long hair at the time. He had kind of shaggy looking hair. And I was with David at the time, and I said, you know what, that'd be really uncool flirting with somebody. But he actually went to the store I worked at, and we started talking. And I didn't have much at my house, so Matt would bring over video games. And we'd play on his flat screen TV, which was awesome. And he'd bring over all kinds of DVDs and movies and animes. And I thought, well, I think this guy's into me. So now I am living with Matthew, very happy. And I have a pet cat and a pet dog who are little devils, but I love them anyway. And I think that is about it. Thank you for watching, and I know I'm not the best artist, but I thought I'd just get out the basic timeline of what happened with my life. So, thank you.